Okay, today I want to talk about why we should never forget that God is the reason for all of our victories, and that we should look at Him and Him only as the source of all of our strength. For this, we will go to First Chronicles chapter 21, verse 1 through 4. Then we'll go to verse 7 and 8. And it reads, And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. Now we will find out why numbering Israel is such a big mistake here. But here in this passage, David has been the king of Israel. He has been winning all the fights against his enemies, and then he's starting to feel powerful. So Satan takes advantage of that and provokes him to number Israel. And David said to Joab, and Joab is the commander of his armies, and to the rulers of the people, Go number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, that I may know it. So David wants to know how many people he has at his disposal. And we will know why he wants to know this. And Joab answered, The Lord make his people 100 times so, many more as they be. But my lord the king, are they not all my lord's servants? Why then doth my lord require this thing? Why will he be a cause of trespass to Israel? So here Joab, the commander, knows what David is about to do and knows how grave of a mistake this is against the Lord. So he's trying to convince David not to do these census, not to count Israel, because of how great that mistake will be. Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab. Wherefore Joab departed and went throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem. So Joab, obviously, under the order of the king, had no other option but to number Israel, even if he was against his wishes. Let's go to verse 7. And God was displeased with this thing, therefore he smote Israel. So he was displeased with the numbering of Israel. And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly, because I have done this thing. But now I beseech thee, do away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly. So here we will know why this was such a big mistake. So let's go back to the first verse. Satan provoked David to number Israel for the reason that David was starting to look at himself as the source of his strength instead of the real reason, God. David wanted to know how many people he had at his disposal so that he can start looking at that as the reason why he's winning these wars, as his strength. He started to look at the number of his armies as his strength, without realizing that the whole time the reason why he's been winning these wars is because God himself was fighting by his side, and God himself was the source of his strength, was the reason for these victories. But David started to feel powerful, proud, and then started looking at his own people as the reason why he's winning, as the source of his strength. And Satan knew this, so he provoked him to number Israel. So when he numbers Israel, is the act of looking at himself instead of looking at God as the reason for his victories. And God, obviously displeased with that, smote Israel, and David understood why numbering Israel was such a big mistake. And the reason why I want to share this passage today is because many times we do this unintentionally. Many times God blesses us and makes us victorious against our obstacles and afflictions. We overcome things in life and come to a phase of life, an area of life where we're full of health, full of success. We are in very good shape. And then in that moment is when we forget about God. In that moment is when we start looking at how to accomplish all of our desires. In that moment is when we barely talk to our Maker, our Creator, the very one that helped us come to this success. So, for example, let's say you're in a moment of your life where life is just full of blessings. You have a good job, you have a house, you have a car, you have everything that you need and even more. you are wealthy, or whatever the case may be, you are in a very successful life right now, and you believe in God, but then you stop talking to God, you stop making him part of your life, and we pull a David on God here. So we start looking at our own successes as the reason why we're happy, we're blessed, the reason why we are where we are, and then forget that God was the one placing us there. That He's the only reason why we overcame our obstacles, our afflictions, and He's the only reason why we're successful today, as an example. So this is to remind us that even if we're in a moment of life where nothing seems to be going against us, it just means that we've been placed in this moment of victory by God Himself. Not to forget that, but instead to use this moment of success as a way to glorify God, to remind ourselves that everything is is the way it is because of God, and to worship God not only when we are being afflicted, but also when we're being victorious. See, in my case, there was a moment in life where I had no health issues, no problems at all, and that's the moment where I barely looked at God. And then now that we go through afflictions, we are reminded that we're nothing without Him. David would have been destroyed without the help of the Lord. So we are nothing without God, and God, with His mercy and love, allows us to go through affliction so that we are reminded that we need Him every single day, that we need Him all the time, that He's the only source of our strength. And in that way, we are grateful. That's why Paul says, I boast about my afflictions, because through our afflictions, we are humbled and are reminded of the true strength, which is God. And when we overcome obstacles, if in the future we overcome afflictions and go back to a place of success and comfort and no problems at all, then we should use that moment to worship God. So worship Him in success, in health, and worship Him in afflictions. In all ways, worship God. So that's the point of these passages. Let's not be David when we feel successful, when we feel comfortable, when we feel healthy. Let's be the same all the time, in affliction and in success. I hope this made sense. Thank you for listening, and God bless.